Welcome to This Is What I Do, where we explore the work that is waiting to be done in our community. I'm your host, Emily Morgenstern. Today we are talking to Megan Teeter, a physical therapist. Welcome, Megan. We're pleased that you're here. We are part of the Rotary Club of Muskegon, part of Rotary International, a group of more than 1.4 million individuals from around the world whose goal is to create a lasting positive change. And we've been doing that here in Muskegon since 1916. One of our goals is improving the local economy. This vocational spotlight program assists students in making rewarding career choices. We hope that they can remain in our community and improve life here for all of us. That's why we're here today. Megan, so please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started off at high school right in the area. I went to Western Michigan Christian, so I've been around here for a long time. After that, I went to Calvin College, where I got a bachelor's degree in kinesiology. And then I pursued physical therapy school and got my doctorate of physical therapy from Grand Valley. And now I'm a physical therapist at iMove.
So what experiences besides your education helped you get the job that you have now?
No, absolutely. So I was a very athletic individual. I was into a lot of sports, loved playing sports, loved watching sports and all of that. And then I had several kind of career-ending injuries. I tore my ACL twice and had some meniscal damage, and so I spent a lot of time in physical therapy. An ACL tear takes anywhere from 6 months to 9 months to get back to sports, and so I spent all of that time with a physical therapist, and she was actually the first one to suggest that I look into it. She could tell I was really interested in what she was doing. I was asking her tons of questions about, what's the purpose of this exercise, or why am I doing this? And she said, hey, you should look into this and see if it's something that you would like to do.
So when you had those injuries in high school, did you kind of know right away that you want to be a physical therapist, or did it take you a little longer through your education journey?
Absolutely. I was kind of debating back and forth between, do I want to, pursue going to medical school, which takes a very long time, or do I want to go to physical therapy school? I was looking into a couple things like that. There's some very rewarding professions like being a physician assistant. And so a lot of these things were kind of going around in my head. But when it came down to it, I loved the one-on-one time that I get with clients as a physical therapist. And so I really wanted to continue to pursue that. And then especially after I got on the hands-on experience, I love working with my hands. And so that's a little bit different than some other medical professionals. I spend a lot more time, moving people and helping them learn how to use their bodies. And I think that's really what did it for me, was knowing that this is what I want to do.
So walk us through, a day in the life of your work, day to day. What does your job look like?
Yeah, so every day is different. My youngest client is 5, and my oldest client is in their 90s. So I see the full range. And then what I do is I treat people for 40 minutes at a time. So in a day, I'll see anywhere from 10 to 14 patients, somewhere in there, depending on the day. And we have a little bit of leeway on our hours, but 40-minute chunks. And so I go in there, I assess a problem, I say, okay, what's wrong with this individual? What gets them to move differently than everybody else? What contributed to their injury or why they're having pain in this area? We assess that. And then from there, it's just finding out the tricks that are going to get them back on their feet, whether it's an exercise, if it's manual therapy, what's going to get these people moving again the way they should.
What do you find most interesting about your job?
I love my job. Like I said, I have some really young clients and some older clients, and just seeing what their perspective is on life, their perspective on their bodies and how their bodies are moving is a very cool thing to see. So I love hearing stories. I'm constantly getting, in some cases 90 years worth of stories, right? Which is amazing. And then just seeing how these kids are talking about their bodies and saying, why is this hurting? And it hurts when I do these things, and kind of hearing their experiences about it. Something else that I really, really love about my job is, so all the one-on-one time, right? And then beyond that, it's the puzzles. I love kind of seeing everybody's different. You never meet two people that are the same. So, and not two injuries are the same. You can have two people that are coming for a post-op ACL, for example, and they will need very, very different treatments depending on how their body moved before surgery or any comorbidities that they have. So I really like the puzzle aspect of it. And then I do like a good success story. I like seeing people get better. I like seeing people say, hey, I didn't think I was going to be able to get back to whatever. I didn't think I was going to be able to get back to running. I didn't think I was ever going to be able to go upstairs again. Or I didn't think I was going to be able to go to this family event because my knee has just been hurting or my hip has been hurting. And so I love a good success story where people are like, I'm back now. I'm back to these things. So I love seeing that.
That's awesome. You definitely, I feel like, have to have a good, people person personality as well to be in this position. Because I feel like a lot of people, when they go into the science or medical field, it's all studying and knowing like the body, but you definitely have to have that personality as well.
And the one thing I love about PT and that not everybody knows is there are a lot of different avenues of PT. You can work in a hospital setting. You can work in an outpatient orthopedic setting. I have a friend of mine who is fully dedicated to working on the sexual health and well-being of her clients. So you can work in a variety of different settings, and all of them, require different personality traits, different levels of interest. So that's very cool.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of options, not one size fits all.
Not at all. Not at all, yeah.
What do you think is the biggest challenge of your work?
So I think that something that's one of the biggest challenges is also something that's the most rewarding. So you can get very invested in the successes and failures of your clients. I want everybody to be their best. And sometimes there's only so much you can control. Sometimes a client is going to take longer to get better. Sometimes there's going to be other barriers in their way along their path to healing. There's going to be things that hold them back that I might not have control over. And so having that level of investment in your clients and then to see them fail is very challenging for, I think, any medical professional, but physical therapists too, saying, why are they failing? Why aren't they getting better? And to be so invested in that and not always having control over why a client might not be getting better is extremely challenging.
So it sounds like you're at a great place in your career, but obviously there's, a journey behind all of that. So what was the most difficult part, do you think, getting to where you're at right now?
PT school is pretty challenging. So it does take 7 years to become a physical therapist. You do your 4 years of undergrad, and then you pursue a doctorate degree. And that can be long. It can be hard. I remember when I first started PT school, they started throwing words at me like osteokinematics and arthrokinematics, and I'm just like, where is this new terminology coming from? I haven't heard this. So to some extent, it was like learning a new language, and that can be very hard to go right into that. It's a long process, definitely worth it, but it does feel long sometimes. So I'd say that in terms of getting here, getting through school, getting through all your clinical rotations, and then finally being like, here I am, and realizing you still have a long ways to go in terms of learning.
So your employer, iMove, I think
Yes.
is very well known in the community.
Yes.
Marty, you know him in Rotary. He's great. So tell us a little bit about your workplace, your work culture, and the values that you have there, and how community fits in.
Absolutely. So big shout out to iMove because one of their largest values is serving. They actually have this phrase. They say, I'm serving, like I move, right, with the I'm there. And they do really live up to that phrase. There are so many things that we do that are based on getting invested in the community and then also the community feeding back into us. So it's not just one-sided. It goes both ways. A great example of that is having local individuals come in and do our diversity and inclusion training. We also have had locals come in and talk to us about the mental health resources that we have available to us in this area and how to get our clients connected with these things. And so the community is definitely feeding into us. And then some of the things that we choose to get involved with include things like Sacred Suds. Sacred Suds is doing a lot of amazing things in the community when it comes to like shower and laundry needs. We've also worked with Hand to Hand, who has come in and allowed us to, help with getting food out to the community. So Hand to Hand was one that we did. We also did Children's Food Basket, and just had these people come in and kind of pour into us and tell us what they're doing. And then we've been able to dedicate some time to that. One of the things that I think is so unique about iMove, and I've never heard of anybody else that has done this, is that iMove will actually encourage me to volunteer in the community by offering to pay for 4 hours of my community service time with reimbursement through my job. So they're really constantly saying, hey, get out in the community, do these things, and see what we find. And then on a fun note, we also do all our events, like our our company
like
outings.
building,
The team building activities. We do all of those at local places. So one of my favorite ones was we went to the Fro Lounge and the downstairs of the Frauenthal, and we did a murder mystery. And it was a very 1920s theme thing, and we all got to just have a lot of time there doing this murder mystery. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome, especially because I feel like you guys do have a very stressful job sometimes. So it's really nice to be able to have those outlets that, you can do while you're working as well.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, you as a physical therapist, how that benefits the greater community.
So being a physical therapist is a very interesting profession in that everything I do is solely dedicated to getting my client back to their role in the community. Every single client I work with is a vital member of our community, right? They're out there they're firefighters and policemen, and they're doing factory work and everything that's out there. We end up seeing bits and pieces from that, right? We get to have people come in and say, hey, this specific part of my job, I'm limited in this, and how do I get back to it? So that is the really cool thing about physical therapy, is that your whole job is getting people back to the things that they love to do. And that can be their role as a mom or their role as a, whatever it is. And my whole job is just to find the ways to get them back into that. So it seems like a very individual thing, right? Someone comes in who's having a trouble with their role, and we just try to get them back to it.
Yeah, but it's definitely, a domino effect, and you're an important part of our piece of that important puzzle. So what do you think is the most difficult thing you encounter at work, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So I think a lot of things that I encounter from my patient population is some of the misconceptions that are kind of associated with physical therapy. And when people have these expectations that, hey, I'm going to go somewhere and it's going to hurt, or someone's going to work me really hard and I just don't know if I'm up for it, or the idea that it's a quick fix. Sometimes it is a quick fix and it's great. But what I tell people is it doesn't have to hurt. Physical therapists aren't trying to cause pain. Physical therapy should be an enjoyable experience. It should be really helping you get back to the things that you love to do. And it doesn't have to be, this horrible workout. I think that sometimes is the impression that clients have before coming in. I think their impression changes once they get in, and once people kind of get over these misconceptions that they have and start realizing that, oh no, this doesn't have to hurt. This doesn't have to be something that I'm scared to do. This is something that empowers me and inspires me and gets me moving. Once we get there, people really do thrive.
So let's move on to a discussion about life skills, both in and out of work. Character is often described as respect, trust, and citizenship. How does what you do rely on any of those traits?
So the one that stands out to me the most, I think, is trust. I have so much accountability in my line of work, and I love it. So some of the I constantly have people pouring into me. I constantly have the older clinicians who have been working for 20 or 30 years say, hey, have you tried this technique? Or I saw you doing this. Have you tried this? Anytime that something is holding me back from my understanding of a particular either anatomical feature or how I'm going to treat this, that person can speak into my life and say, hey, I think you should try this technique. So accountability is definitely huge in my setting. It's a lot of learning. So I'm constantly seeking out opportunities to, pursue continuing education or pursuing some sort of module where I can learn more about this. And I think that accountability is really important for healthcare professionals, but also just, everybody as we go through life.
Does giving back to the community play a part of your definition of success?
Absolutely. So it's pretty amazing to be in a position where some of the people who have poured into my life through the city of Muskegon and just people I've met and who I hold in high regard become your clients. And that's a huge blessing to be able to see people and say, wow, I can actually give back on a personal level, but also, this is my home and this is where I grew up and this is where I want to be. And just to have those people come in and trust me is, I think, one of the ultimate measures of success as a healthcare professional is to have the trust from your community to allow you to treat them. And that is definitely something that I have seen at iMove, is that the level of trust that people have for their practitioners there. And it's a pretty amazing thing to see that.
How could a student best prepare for the job that you do?
Yeah, so come out and shadow is the first thing that I would tell a student to do. Is the more you can get out there and see what a physical therapist does, the better. And try a bunch of different settings. So don't just go to the outpatient ortho. See what a physical therapist does in a hospital. See what a physical therapist does in a nursing home. See what a physical therapist does, in a neuro setting, and just see if any of these appeal to you. There's so much that a physical therapist can be involved in, and I didn't know about half of it when I started PT school. I was just like, oh yeah, we're going to get an athlete better. And then I started realizing all the different impairments that a person can have and where physical therapists can really make a difference. And so I would say that would be the first thing. Get out there, shadow, see what a physical therapist does, and see if it sparks your interest.
Is there any advice or words of wisdom that we haven't talked about that you would like students to know who are interested in this career?
Yeah, definitely start working hard now. It's amazing to see how much you'll grow if you can just kind of just work hard early, so then you don't have to catch up. So start when you're in high school, start young, and then just say, hey, is this something that I want to continue to pursue? Is this something I'm interested in? And really dedicate some time to it now, because it really does help you kind of have the edge. Have the edge when you go to college, have the edge when you go to PT school, if that's what you ultimately decide to do, is to dedicate time early so you feel like you don't have to catch up later.
So hard work definitely pays off.
It does.
Well, thank you so much, Megan, for sharing your story with us today. And we thank you for joining us. If you think this program might help someone else, please send them the link. And until next time, the Muskegon Rotary Club would like you to consider doing something good for your community.